All right. Hi, everyone. Welcome to the Patron Leader Institute. My name is Gil Fried, the crowd management doctor, and we have worked our way through planning for events, getting ready for events. Now we're looking at getting patrons out of a facility. This is module 16, and it's focusing on getting people out. Just like if you have people at your house and you're trying to get them out, it could be a difficult process sometimes. At events, especially if it's lasted a long time, people often are very anxious to get out. That means there could be problems. One of the biggest concerns for event and facilities and the government as well, the government agencies that might monitor them, is how to get personnel and patrons out of a facility during a crisis. So it's not necessarily just at the end of an event. It could in fact be because there's a crisis. While some people feel that those leaving a facility will act crazy, history shows that most people act in an orderly manner, but this occurs when there are trained individuals who can assist them and provides comfort to people. Let's keep moving along. We're moving to this direction. This is our safe area. All right, let's start with exit basics. The survival arc consists of two phases: denial and deliberation. Denial and deliberation. So let's start off with denial. Denial prevents you from possibly realizing you're in trouble. That's a false alarm. Nothing's going on. When we hear a fire alarm, our first thought is normally, it's an annoying fire drill, rather than a real-world emergency. Deliberation, on the other hand, requires an overcoming of fear and then focusing on thinking clearly to develop and execute an appropriate solution. Where do I go? How do I go there? During an emergency, there rarely is panic. Instead, patrons or groups are often extremely docile and overly polite. These individuals will typically respond when asked to respond in a given way. All right, let's please move in this direction. With a clear line of command, patron leaders and managers can work on determining appropriate exit routes, evacuation procedures, like including plans for employees, patrons, and the disabled, determining which employees will stay behind to shut down critical operations, and what equipment might be required to help handle a small hazard before it grows out of control. So it's important to go through that process of understanding those elements. Let's look at evacuation time. Evacuation time takes two major components into consideration: the delay time in order to start the evacuation and the travel time needed to reach a safe place away from the danger. Both these elements focus on patron education. The sequence for emergency response and reaction is going to be as follows. Let's say a disaster occurs. Let's say it's a fire at a venue or whatever it is. Then you have the detection device. Let's say a smoke alarm or fire alarm. And that identifies the disaster and highlights there is a fire. An alarm or warning is then sounded. The patrons, they perceive the warning. The patrons interpret the warning and decide what actions to take. Then the action is taken to start the escape. Then you have the movement time to evacuate the area where the disaster is located. That leads to the evacuation being completed. The area where education is needed the most is in delay time for patrons to start their evacuation. The delay comes from when a device or patron detects the problem until a patron starts moving. All efforts should be made to minimize the delay in starting the evacuation by educating patrons and event facility personnel. This can be accomplished by educating individuals about what are possible warning signs, warning sounds, sights, maybe symbols. In several evacuation studies, the mean delay time was 2 minutes and 49 seconds. 3/4 of the evacuation time was used for the delay required to initiate the evacuation and 1/4 to actually move out of the building. So just think about that. The majority of the time to get out of the building is not moving out of the building, is perceiving it and going like, I got to get the heck out of here. So our goal in this area is to identify the steps in the evacuation process and keep calm. CALM. So this is the calm approach. What are we going to do? C stands for communicate. You want to communicate with everyone around you. Make sure you give clear instructions and maintain your visibility. That's why you have a uniform. It helps you stand out. Everyone will know who you are. That's going to be probably communicated to you, and then you're going to have to communicate to them from the command center what to do. The A stands for attitude. If you are positive and let patrons around you know that you are there to help guide them to safety, they will feel more at ease. You're the calm in the wilderness. The L stands for location. You need to know where you are located and where you and the patrons need to go in order to exit the facility in the safest and quickest manner possible. The M stands for maintain calm. You are a leader, and you need to lead the patrons to safety. You can only lead people to safety if you and those around you are calm as possible. All right, everyone. I know you've heard the fire alarms. We're going to move. There is a safe location where we can be. I'm going to, go with you guys over there, but you guys start moving in that direction. That's going to be so critical, keeping calm. Now, you have to appreciate that the next part of this module looks at problems within a facility that can impact people getting out. So our goal here is to identify several problems that occur when trying to evacuate the event or facilities. And we're going to look at this by looking at the PARCS approach. P-A-R-C-S, not P-A-R-K-S, P-A-R-C-S. So P stands for patrons. And it's easy to remember the mnemonic device because you can see it on the side here. P stands for patrons. Patrons falling while trying to exit a facility are a concern. A stands for attitude. When patrons or patron leaders refuse to listen or are uncooperative, they can cause a significant problem in getting patrons out of a facility. R, rumor. The power of rumor is a major concern, and you have to work hard to keep communicating with patrons and dispel any rumors that might be here, because most of the time rumors are wrong and it causes more confusion. C stands for confusion. Many patrons leave a facility the same way they came in due to confusion and ease of remembering patterns. They remember how they came in, so that's what's in their mind. You need to avoid confusion among other patron leaders as well as the patrons. And then S in PARC stands for sentimentality. People are sentimental, which means they want to be with their friends and family. So they often try to exit together, which might cause congestion problems. What are some other potential problems when you're trying to do an evacuation or exiting a facility? Panic, confusion, miscommunication. Let's take a look at the next part of this module, which is problems outside the facility. The goal here is to identify some problems that can occur outside a facility that can impact an evacuation. I call this the PACS approach. The PACS approach is P-A-C-T-S approach. You can see it on the side here. What are we looking at? The P stands for parking issues. From cars not starting or blocking exit ways, you should help monitor the parking activities in areas, and that's why oftentimes they have redeployment of people to the parking area, not just to prevent fights and stuff, but to monitor issues. A stands for attack. That could be assaults by other patrons to criminal assaults by third parties. You need to identify areas of concern when a large number of people exit a facility all at once, and which might be blocked your ability to view from different angles because of cars or whatever might be out there. C stands for congestion. Sometimes patrons leave a facility but linger around, and this could cause a problem for others still trying to exit the facility. That's, hey, I want to tailgate. A lot of people say no tailgating. I mean, when I say people, policies for venues. T stands for traffic congestion. Congestion away from an event or facility can impact exiting strategies. If there's another major event occurring at the same time, there might be extra traffic that makes exiting more difficult. S stands for shelter in place. Sometimes the safest strategy is to stay in a facility. Thus, if there's a chemical attack or natural disaster, the safest location might be inside a facility. So listen to supervisors if they order patrons to stay inside, as an example, then you want to make sure you shelter in place. As we look at getting out of a venue, we often are excited, just like when people are entering a venue and the pre-event excitement, you could have the post-event excitement as well. Your team might have won. People are pumped up, they're excited, they're really, jazzed up. Maybe they might have had a little bit too much to drink. Look at, if you, as an example, some of the cases that we've covered throughout the Patron Leader Institute for people that have fallen off of escalators, an example, riding the rail of an escalator down after the end of a game. There have been a number of people that have died falling over the railing. What's happening? They're excited. They're so jazzed, so excited. They want to I want to celebrate, or jumping up and down. Whatever it is, people can be excited at the end of a game, and they might lose their sensibility, especially if they had something to drink that can impact them as well. Your job is to monitor what's going on. Your job is not, hey, the game ended, I'm not responsible anymore. You're responsible from when people get onto the property to when they leave the property. If you see something, say something. You're the eyes and the ears throughout the entire event, pre-event, during event, and post-event. That's why throughout these modules we've had pre-event issues, we've had in-event issues, and now this is post-event issues, the evacuation or exiting of the facility. Remember, there is a significant difference between an evacuation and people exiting. Exiting might not be as stressed out because the fact that, there's no sense of urgency maybe in people's mind. If there's a fire, if there's an earthquake, whatever it might be, that might cause a little bit of panic. Normally not if there is, the proper presence, if people are getting information, public address announcements, scoreboard, things like that. That's all outside of what you can control. But trust me, the people in the command center know what's going on. Most of the time, I hope all the time, but most of the time, there's going to be a thick binder with all the emergency action plan steps. It might not necessarily be a thick binder, it could be a thin binder, or it could be in someone's mind that they've internalized the plans and know what the plans are, and they're the ones that are hopefully going to communicate that to you and say, okay, this is what we have to do. And with that knowledge, it makes your job that much easier, because you might need to know where the area of refuge is, which is where you're supposed to exit. Maybe it's in a parking lot in a given area. Whatever it is, hopefully you're knowledgeable about that because that has been conveyed to you. And if it's been conveyed to you, all they have to do is tell you this is what's going on. Now, one of the things that you have to be aware of is that during your training, you're probably going to be told this is how we discuss an emergency. And oftentimes, this is something that we covered in communication, they're not going to yell over the speaker system or the Nextel or the walkie-talkie system, oh, we have a terrorist attack going on, we have this going on, we have that going on. Normally it's going to be a word such as Mr. Brown, so maybe a name or something like that. And that's designed to communicate to people that there is a concern, to hopefully prevent any potential panic that might ensue if people hear things. But you're going to have issues that might arise at the venue. I've handled a number of cases where there have been gunshot issues, or there have been a stampede at a facility because someone heard something or thought they heard something, or some actions occurred. And that is a way that people might try to exit a facility. I've had cases actually in the past where animals, while they've been getting out or trying to be put back into their pens, have escaped and have gone wild at fairs and stuff like this, and it caused a stampede of these animals, which caused patrons to panic and to try running because, you could try talking to a running bull, but I wouldn't recommend it. It's not the safest and smartest kind of strategy to try to have a discussion with them. How do you respond to that? How do you make sure that you know what to do and that others know what to do? That's through this kind of training. This kind of training that we're doing with the Patron Leader Institute is designed to get you aware that you can ask the questions. So if something comes up, you'll feel more comfortable responding to it. Let's help make sure that everyone gets out of our facility safely and in a timely manner, because that's going to avoid frustration. Or if we need to keep them in the venue, make sure that we keep them safe. Take care, everyone. Have a great rest of the day. Bye-bye.